What's up YouTube and how's it going? My name is Dan and this is the Evolved Jeeping channel. On today's video, we're going to be taking a look at this Linkswell 12.1 T-Style Gen 5S system for the 2018 to 2021 Jeep Wrangler JLs and Gladiator JTs. This system was actually sent to me from one of Linkswell's Amazon partners. They sent me a message a couple of weeks ago asking me if I wanted to review and test the system out in exchange for some video content. And of course, guys, I had to accept this offer because if you didn't know, for the last 2 years, I've actually been running the AuCar 13.6-inch Tesla style screen. And I figured this would be a great opportunity to test out another Tesla style screen, which is actually from a well-known brand, and see how it compares to the AuCar system. My plans for the Linkswell system is actually to create 2 different videos. The first video, which is this one right here, is going to be mainly focused on the Linkswell system. And the plan in this video is to show you guys how to install the system, then show you guys how this system functions and works, and then give you guys my overall thoughts and opinions about the system now that I've got it installed. For the second video, my plan is to actually make a comparison video where I compare the Linkswell system to the AuCar system so that we can see the differences and help you make your decision on which unit you want to add to your Jeep. So guys, I do have to mention that the Gen 5S is technically an older model from Linkswell. Linkswell currently is selling their Gen 5 models. And of course, guys, I would have loved to have gotten a Gen 6 because it would have been great to show you guys the most up-to-date system instead of showing you guys a slightly older one. But unfortunately, the Amazon partner only had the Gen 5 available, so that is the unit we're going to be using for today's video and the unit we're going to be using to compare to the AuCar system. But that being said, I actually think that this system will be good enough because it's going to give me a good idea of what the Linkswell system has to offer. Also, this unit is technically closer in price to the AuCar system, so that's going to be something that's a little bit more of a comparable level. This system goes for $1,200 and the Gen 5s are going for $1,700. So you can see that this system is definitely more comparable to the AuCar system, which go for about, I think, 11 or 12. So definitely a more comparable system. So a couple details you need to know about the Gen 5. The Gen 5 is an Android 9 powered platform. It also has wireless Android and Apple CarPlay, which is actually really good. A lot of their older generations, the Gen 4, 3, and 2, didn't have wireless CarPlay. They all had wired CarPlay, so you had to plug it in. But this one does have the wireless option, which is really cool. This unit does have a bunch of integration modules that can be added to it. What I mean by that is Linkswell actually makes a bunch of accessories that you can add to the system to expand it even further. One example is their multi-camera system, which gives you the ability to run a bunch of different cameras on your vehicles. So say you want to have some cameras that are pointing at your axles, you can easily add that to it. So that's really cool. They also have their DVR system that you can add to it, which gives you the ability to have a dash cam system running directly to the radio. They also have a SiriusXM edition that you can add to it. So you can buy that module and add it to it. So you have SiriusXM. Yeah, really cool that Linkswell has expansion parts to make the system even bigger and better. As I mentioned, this system goes for $1,200, and what I'm going to do is put the Amazon link below. So at the end of this video, if you're interested in purchasing this unit or simply want to get more details about it, you can click on that link and get yours today. As mentioned, our plan for this video is to show you guys how to install this unit. But as you can see, I've already got the unit installed. And the reason is because I did the installation yesterday. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go check out what I did yesterday to install this unit. So the first 2 things we want to do are before we even get inside the Jeep. What we want to do is configure our main powering harness and then pre-wire the back of the radio so that it's super easy to install the radio once we're sitting inside the Jeep. So this is the main powering harness right here, and there's a few minor configurations we need to do. First is we need to plug in or connect the audio system for this powering harness that relates to the Jeep we're installing on. As you guys know, with the Jeeps and Gladiators, you have two options for audio. You can get the factory audio that does not come with an amplifier, or you can get the upgraded audio system from Alpine that does have an amp. These are two different connections, so depending on which one you have, you are simply going to plug the male white plug here into one of the female ones. For myself, I have the upgraded Alpine system, so I'm gonna plug it into the with factory amp audio input. So just simply click this in. And again, guys, if you don't have the upgraded Alpine, you're simply just gonna plug it into the other one. The next step we have to do is plug in our Canvas system. I believe what this does is pretty much just makes the system work with your factory vehicle and everything. So that's pretty much all I understand about that. But all we have to do is plug in two connections, one on each side of this box, and they're gonna be on this wiring harness somewhere. So the first one's right here. This is the large one. Simply just gonna plug that in. And then we're gonna plug in the back one. Make sure when you're doing this that you don't tangle up your wires too much, because that will make it really difficult when you're putting this into the Jeep. So just plug that in like that. So that canvas is now connected. The next box we need to install is this one right here. This box is actually used to convert the signal of your factory rear view camera from analog to digital to work with this screen. On this box, there are two ports or two spots to connect wires to. This one right here is actually used to connect the factory camera to. So I will show you guys that later. And then this one is the one that plugs the wiring harness. So all we're gonna have to do is find the cable that says for rear camera, which is right here. Again, guys, all of these wires are nicely labeled to make it nice and easy, and you're just gonna simply plug it in just like that. So that was the last and final step we need to do to configure the wiring harness. So now we can put this aside for now. And the next thing we're gonna do is wire up the back of the radio. And we're gonna go and do this in kind of an order, working across this, and I'm gonna explain each of the connections. So the first wire we have, which is this one right here, is your RCA audio output thing. This is also considered your microphone port. So this system does come with an external microphone. It doesn't use the vehicle ones, but to be honest, the Jeep Wranglers mics aren't that great. So this is gonna be the microphone port here. And then these cords here are all used if you're adding in extra amplifiers in any game. We're not gonna be using this because we have no extra amps, but we will be plugging this into the microphone that I'll show you guys in a later step. This plug right here is, I guess you would call this like a yellow plug. It's gonna be the first one on the bottom here. So we're just gonna slide that in, and then we'll just place this here. The next wire that we're gonna be plugging in is this one right here. This is your USB line, or I guess they're called USB-C, but this one is used if you want to plug in, say you want to put in a media file and you want to play like a hard drive and have audio coming off. This would be the port that you would plug that into. Also, this could be used for some other accessories like the multi-camera system that Linkswell does sell. That would be also another thing. This one is going to plug in right next to that other one. So we'll just slide in. Again, guys, don't force anything in. It should slide in nice and easy. The next wire that we're going to be plugging in is our aux in. So this actually is going to plug into our main powering harness. I'll show you guys that after we get this installed. But this is going to be the next box over. Oh, actually, it's not going to be that box. It's going to be the one further over. So that one is going to remain empty. We do not have something for that port. The next wire we have is going to be for this top port right here, and it is going to be the camera input port. And here we actually have a couple different options. I'm not sure how this all works, but I believe we do have some, we have if you're upgrading cameras and you're putting in digital cameras, this would be where you would plug them into. It is also the port where we plug in the factory camera. Again, guys, I'll show you that when we go to plug everything up to the main wiring harness, but this is simply going to plug into that port right here. So we'll leave that there. Next wire we have is this, I don't know what to call this, but it's it says SPDIF output cable. From what I read and watched on videos, this is for like special amplifiers, I guess. This is gonna plug in right beside the one we just plugged in. But guys, I'm not gonna be using this for my Jeep, so I am actually gonna remove this just to make myself have some more space inside the Jeep. The next wire we have is a DVR cable. So with this, it is basically a power source that you can plug in and have a DVR system tapped into. Really cool, because instead of running to a fuse box, you could even just run them to these, and then it would also integrate into this. I believe it does have to be a Linkswell one, so that is one thing. I don't think you can just use a generic one, so it would have a Linkswell. That is gonna go right here, right next to where the purple one went. For me, guys, I am not gonna be using a DVR for this, so we're gonna go ahead and remove that. So the next cable is this one right here. And this cable is a pretty important one. This is for if you're going to try and have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay connected through your phone through the system. Unfortunately, with this Linkswell system, it doesn't allow you to use your stock media imports. You actually have to go ahead and use this cord if you want to connect it. But the good thing about this system is it actually has wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, so you don't actually need to plug this in. But this cord is simply gonna go and plug into the last port on the top right there. On this side, we actually have where your phone would go in, and then we actually have where it's gonna plug into your stock media ports. But again, guys, that's just gonna give it power. That is not gonna give you the ability to connect your phone to the system. Then after this, we have a few extra cords to add. We're gonna start with the Wi-Fi antenna, which is this one right here. So the connection is going to be simply to screw this on to that connection right here. So we just go like this, screw it on, and then like that. We're actually going to remove that right now, so you don't need to install that. And the reason is because I actually want to go ahead and mount this on the inside of the dash first before connecting it. So that will be done when we're inside the Jeep. The next thing we have is this blue connection right here, which is actually for your GPS. And we have a GPS antenna right here. So this is going to connect right on the back side like that. And then similar to the Wi-Fi unit, we're actually going to stick this on the inside of the dash. So as I did with the Wi-Fi, we're gonna disconnect that for now and we'll install that on the inside of the vehicle. The next cord we have is for the AM and FM radio, and that is, or the antenna, and that is this cable right here. It is simply gonna plug into this big round opening like that, and then that is gonna connect to the FM radio inside the Jeep, and I'll show you that at a later time. So that is pretty much all our accessory cables. What we need to do now is show you guys where to connect the main power hub or the power harness. So you're gonna take the power harness and you're gonna have a few connections to connect. First, you're gonna take this connection right here, which is the, I guess, medium-sized black one, and it's gonna go into this port on the bottom. You're just gonna slide that in. Again, make sure to take your time doing it. Then we are going to make some other connections. So the first connection we're gonna do is for the it's gonna be this one right here. So this one is your auxiliary connection. So some vehicles actually have CD players in them, and if you wanted to use a CD player, you could choose which one you're gonna do. So on the main power harness, you have a red, 2 reds and 2 whites. They're all labeled, so some of them audio input left and audio input or CD audio. We are not going to be using the CD one. We're just going to be using the audio port. So this is basically the port on your audio port. It would give you that ability. So we're just going to connect these to this wire harness just like this. And then the aux in yellow one and the white ones are going to remain unplugged. So we don't need to plug those in. The next thing we're going to connect is this plug right here. So this is this to the radio, and this is going to actually go all the way over here. So you kind of want to bend this around, and it's going to plug right on the flat side right here. This is almost a hidden plug. It's not connected, it's offset. So that is just going to be plugged in just like this. Simply slide that in. So you can see we're definitely becoming a little bit of a rat's nest of wires. So we want to make sure things are kind of off to the side that we're going to use later. So we'll put this aside because that doesn't need to be plugged in. The USB port can also go with that because they'll probably go the same location. Next thing we need to plug in is, I think there's one more plug. So this plug here is not going to be used, but if you were to get a multi-camera power adapter from Linkswell and add some multiple cameras, this is what you would use to plug that in, but we're not going to be using that today for us. What other plugs? So, yeah, we don't need anything on this. Oh, the camera, reverse camera. This is what we do need to do. So there are two yellow plugs on the main wire harness that are coming off the power box for the camera converter. There are two signals. There is the CVBS and then there is the AHD. I'm not sure which one's doing it, but based on the instructions I read, the ADHD is the one, or ADHD, that's not correct. It's AHD camera signal is the one I need to use. So I'm gonna plug that into the port or the cable that says factory cam input. So I'm just gonna plug that right in, and that's gonna be what I need. The other cameras, again, are if you're upgrading to other cameras, you would use those, or like digital cameras, you could directly plug those in. But this is the one to make the conversion from analog to digital. So we'll just leave it like that. So now that we've got that pretty much wired up, we're ready to go inside the Jeep and start taking apart the radio and show you that steps. Now that we're inside the Jeep, the first thing we need to do is remove the factory climate control panel and then the factory radio. As you can see, I've already done that, and that is because I actually was removing my AuCar Tesla style screen and not my factory components. But don't worry, I am going to show you guys how to remove the factory components, and how I'm going to do that is I'm actually going to show you the video that I filmed when I put in the AuCar system. Very straightforward. All you had to do was first pry off the climate control panel, disconnect the plugs, then pop it off. Once that's done, you're then going to unscrew the trim panel that holds the factory radio in, and then simply pop that off. Once that's done, next all you have to do is unscrew the radio unit and then pull that out. Once that's pulled out, you're going to disconnect all the plugs from the back. As you can see, removing those stock components was actually fairly straightforward to do. What I'm going to do now, while we have the radio removed, is I'm actually going to show you some of the important plugs to remember. So this one right here is your main plug connection for the radio. That is going to be super important because we're going to plug the main power harness up to that. Then you have this gray plug right here, which looks like a micro USB port. This is actually the plug for your media port right here. So this is going to be plugged into a thing, but as we said, guys, this port is not going to be useful for plugging in your phone to get your Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. That is going to be a separate one, but this will still be used to give it power. So that's what we're going to use that. The next plug to remember is this kind of red-ish one right here. This is your factory rear view camera. So that's going to be very important as well. As for the rest of the plugs here, these are not going to be that important. Oh, actually, no, this one, sorry. This one is for your factory AM and FM radio, so we are going to remember that. But for the, I guess you want to call pink, purple, and blue, these are going to be 3 wires that we are not going to utilize for this system. So these can get tucked in behind here. We don't need them. We want to get them out of the way. So that's important. This plug here is also going to be important. This is for your climate control system. We're going to make sure to use that. And then over here, this was for your ignition. So that is also important. So the first thing we're going to do is actually a step that they recommended. And it is because our climate control system is not going to be here, and the Linkswell system is going to have the climate control system in here. This plug actually needs to get up to this space. So what they recommended is we actually go to this system right here, this box controller here, and there's going to be 2 screws underneath. You're going to simply unscrew those, and then it's going to release this box, and then what we're going to do is run this cord up into this space and give us some extra wire. So let's do that, and then I'll tell you guys what the next step is. Once that's back, we're just gonna simply screw this box right back in. So the next thing you need to do is decide where you want to put your microphone and then run the wire. For me, I want to put it in an area that's not noticeable. I want it to kind of be out of the way. So I am actually going to probably put it up here in the top panel of the A-pillar, but I'm going to do this in a way that's kind of not the correct way. Realistically, I should be taking things off, but I'm going to try and do this in a way that's just a simple approach and just kind of tuck wires in behind things. So let's go and do that, and then we'll come back to show you guys what's next. As you can see, guys, I ran the wires for the microphone. The path that I took is more of a temporary option because I really want to test the system out before I fully commit to it. But if you are committing to the system and installing it as if you're going to keep it, then I suggest that you run the wire in a better route. I would suggest going through the dash, come up through where the A-pillar is, run behind the A-pillar. Just make it a lot cleaner than what I did. My route is just, it does work, but it's not permanent, and there's a possibility the wire probably may come loose. The next thing we're going to install is actually our Wi-Fi antenna. So that is this flat one right here. All you're going to do is simply peel off the tape and then stick it on the inside of the dash and then have it ready to be connected. So let's just undo this wire. Because I am, again, testing this out, most likely what I'm gonna do here is not stick it, just in case I'm not confident on it and wanna pull it off. So I'm gonna wedge it up here in a space that will keep it safe. So that's there. And we're gonna put this wire all behind here and just have it ready to go for when we need it. Next one we have to run is the GPS antenna, and we're going to do the exact same thing. So you're going to peel off the tape and then stick it on the inside of the dash, and then just have the wire accessible for when we bring the radio over. Again, I'm not confident yet on this. I want to test this system out, but once I am, I will stick it. For now, I'm just going to stick it up there in behind and just have it sitting there, and we'll have the wire accessibly ready. Again, you want to tuck all the wires in clear because you are going to have to put a lot of wires in this space. So you want to have the wires as far back and as clean as possible. The next step is to install the brackets that will hold this unit in place. There are two brackets. One is for the right side, which is labeled with an R, and the other one is for the left side, which is labeled with an L. All you're going to do is take the bracket and position it right over the same mounting holes as the stock head unit. Once you have that in place, you're going to secure it with the stock hardware. Very straightforward. So we're going to go ahead and put both these brackets on, and that'll show you guys what's next. After the brackets have been secured, the next part is kind of the fun part. It's just putting the unit into the Jeep. When I say fun, I also mean challenging, because it's going to be really challenging to get all these wires in that little hole. But before we get to putting this unit in, there's a few things I need to show you that you also need to do that I've actually done off camera. First is you have to take the stock push start button off your climate control and install it on the new one. This can be done by simply unscrewing the 3 bolts that hold in place. They are 732 bolts. You unscrew those, bring the unit over, and then simply screw it on. And then next, you have to take the clips off the factory units, off the factory climate control and the factory radio, and then install them on the back of this unit. Once that's been done, you're then ready to start connecting some of the wires to the vehicle. The first thing that we're going to connect is the Wi-Fi antenna and the GPS antenna right here. Those are the units that we put in the Jeep. So this is gonna be fun. We're gonna be a little challenging. Hopefully you guys can see everything. I'm gonna try and position it. But we're gonna take our GPS antenna, which has some extra cord on it. We're gonna take that out and plug it in. Very simple there. Then we're going to take our Wi-Fi antenna, which again, we have a bunch of extra wire. We're going to take that and plug it and screw that one in because that's a screw on. The next wire that we're going to connect is the microphone wire. So we're going to take the microphone wire connection that we ended, and this wiring harness here, you're going to find the black one and simply just connect that. Make sure that's clicked in.
You're right.
Then after that, I believe next 4 connections are going to be stuff we're going to have to do as we're kind of putting it in. So it's going to be a little bit of a finagle thing, but we're going to connect the FM and AM antenna. That is going to be this wire right here on the back, and we're going to connect that to the white wire right here. So that's going to be connection. Well, actually, let's actually do that one here, apparently, so we have enough room. So that's one connection. The next connection is going to be the, where is it? The reverse camera. So that is this one right here. So you're going to connect that to the box, and that is going to be your, if I can get it out, your reddish wire. So that's just going to go and connect into here. We can do that now. Then we have our USB ports. Well, actually, I forgot I need to do this, so what we need to do is run the 2 USB cords through the dash and down out the glove box. So those are run there. Once we've got that run, we can then connect the, you can see this is definitely a lot of wires at this point. We're going to connect the media port, which is here, to the back of that. So that will still give us power there if we want to charge stuff. So that just slides in like that. So that's connected. So lastly, we are on to, I believe the last one now is the main power hub, and then we got to try and fit everything in. So let's go ahead and connect this up and start putting all those wires in. So guys, I actually got 2 connections. First is you need to connect the start stop. So that's this plug way over here. You're just gonna connect that in the bottom of it. And then the other one I forgot was the main climate control connection, which is this connection right here coming off the power harness into the main one. So we'll just do that. Now I believe we're good, and you can see even my 4-ways came on because I pressed the button in the top. So let's turn that off. So now, even though and this connection came off here, so we'll put that back on. So make sure all your connections are nice and tight and snug. We don't want anything coming loose. Yeah, now let's go ahead and put them back in. One thing I was trying here was to put the canvas one on one side up high and then the power cord or the camera cord on the other. So let's try that again. As you can see, installing the system was actually fairly straightforward. All you really had to do was plug a bunch of wires to the back of the radio, then connect those wires to the Jeep, install the brackets, and then install the radio. The hardest part, in my opinion, is getting all those radios and control boxes inside the dash. My biggest recommendation when putting those wires into the dash is take your time. One thing I do want to mention to you guys about the installation is, for myself, I actually am going to be showing you guys a digital aftermarket rear view camera, not the factory one. And the reason is because after I did the installation of the rear view camera and plugged my factory camera back in, I had an issue. The issue had nothing to do with the steps I showed you. The steps I showed you are the correct steps you have to do to install your factory camera. The issue for me has to do with my factory camera itself. Because I have done so much work on this Jeep and changed the camera out on the back already for the AuCar system, the factory camera just seems to not be working. I think it's probably due to the fact that I didn't really protect the camera. I kind of just threw it in my toolbox and it's been kind of bashing around. So I'm sure that has damaged the camera and it doesn't work anymore. So on today's video, the camera that I'm going to be showing you guys is an aftermarket camera, but the installation steps I showed you are the steps you would do to get your factory one. If you're looking for details about the factory rear view camera, my suggestion is to check out the numerous other videos that are online that show the factory camera in use. So now that we have the system installed and powered up, what I actually want to do is turn off the system so that I can show you guys all the buttons that are on the system and show you guys how the system is fitting into the dash. Once we've done that, the next part we're going to go ahead and do is fire it up so that I can show you guys how the boot sequence starts. Then we're going to go through and show you guys all of the features and functionalities that are built in the system. So let's turn the system off and take a look at it. The first thing I want to take a look at is the fit of the radio itself. Overall, the fit is about 90% there. You can see along here, the edge is really crisp. It ties in really nice. When it goes around the vents, it's nice and crisp. It doesn't look like it's wrong. In behind here, it looks really good. In behind the steering wheel and with the touch thing, it follows all the curves really nicely and fits well. The 10% the reason I'm saying 90% is right here. So unfortunately on this side, there's a bit of a gap behind that part. And it looks like it's all occurred because this part is slightly molded wrong. And also the clip doesn't push it back enough. With some minor modifications that definitely could be fixed, but it is disappointing that the fit isn't good around that edge. But again, besides that location, everything else is really nice. Overall, the finish of the plastic is really nice. I like the texture it's on it. It is really close to the factory one, so it really looks like a good integration, so almost looks like one piece. One thing I would have loved to possibly is maybe some black covers to go over the screws here. That would have been nice. It's not a big deal because we do have silver screws there, so it kind of does tie into that, but I think it would have been nice to have some covers or something to hide those. That's just my personal opinion. The screen, you can see, is really nice. It is a 12.1 inch screen. It is a gloss finish, so that might be a little challenging in the Jeep, especially if you're one to have your top off and your doors off. The reflection might be a little bit too much. But what I've seen other people do is add an anti-glare film to it to help with that. So it's definitely gonna be something you might want to purchase. But overall, it looks really nice. The seams around the edge of the screen look clean. There's no gaps around that. So the construction of the unit is pretty good. As I said, 90% there. The little issue is right there. As for the buttons, let's take a look at our options. So on the driver's side, you have more of your climate control options. At the top, you have your AC option. Then going down, you have your fan options to go up and down, as well as your temperature to go up and down. You also have a reset button on the front side. That is really nice because it means that I don't actually have to remove the unit to reset it, where with the AuCar one, I actually had to pop the whole unit off to reset it. But again, shouldn't need to press that button, but it is nice that it is there if you do so. The dial on this side is for your volume, so turning that up and down changes the volume, and then pressing the button here mutes it. Again, you have your push start stop integrated into it. On this side, you have a second dial. This dial is for tuning, so it says it right there. So this gives you the ability to tune your FM and AM. The button on here is for media. If you press that, what it does is simply changes your media option. So by pressing that, you'll go from FM to AM to Bluetooth to Sirius and so on. Buttons above that are all for the Jeep. So you have your hill descent, your park off button, your traction off, your auto start stop off, and then at the top we have our hazard button. Overall, guys, I'm really impressed the way this looks. I've always seen this on Jeep Rubicons, and in my opinion, the black shell with the red stock backing just always looked like it was out of place. But with my setup here in the black dash, I actually think this looks really good. It almost looks well integrated and doesn't look like an aftermarket accessory. So now what we're gonna go ahead and do is power it up to show you guys the boot sequence and then start getting into some of the features and functionality. So guys, we're gonna boot this up to show you guys how long it takes. I have heard complaints that this does take a little bit longer, and that is probably due to the Android 9 platform. So let's power this up.
Right.
So now let's power this up. So one of the biggest complaints I've heard about this unit is its slow boot up screen. So it's very important to show you guys how long this takes to boot up. This is the home page where you can actually change that photo if you wanted to. Then it goes to the Android page. Then it goes to this page. On this page, you can easily just hit that button or just leave it and it will automatically switch over. When the system boots up, it's going to boot to this page. This is Z-Link. Z-Link is basically the app that will give you the ability to see your Android Auto and your Apple CarPlay. So this is your main boot up screen. So that's where you're going to go. If you have your phone connected already, it's actually going to boot up Android Auto or Apple CarPlay automatically. But because right now we don't have our phone connected, it's just going to stay at this screen. There's a few settings on this screen that are actually very important, and I want to show you guys that before we do anything. Here, you hit settings, and on here, you can actually choose whether you want it to auto connect or not. So that is an option you have to choose there. And then you have a few other options as well. We're going to leave everything just like this for now. So we'll hit back. So before I do go ahead and connect our phone, I actually want to just go through some of the other features in their system that don't relate to Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. And we'll start at the top here. So at the top, we have our power button. Then we have our sleep button for the screen. If you click this, all it does is put the screen to sleep. And then all you have to do to wake the screen up is hit it again and it turns on. The next screen over is next button over is our brightness. And on this, you actually have the option to click it 3 times and change the brightness to 3 levels. In the system, you also have the ability to set your dimness for both the day and the nighttime. That is in your settings section. I will show you that, but this is just a quick option that you can do to change that. Right here, you have your equalizer button, which if you click that, it takes you to your audio equalizer where you can customize how your sound is sounding. To go back to the screen we were at, we can actually just hit back and it will take us back. So that is your back button. Up here, you have your Celsius, you have your time. Then over here, you have your pages that show you what apps are open, similar to what would happen on a phone. This is where you can actually go and close certain things if you don't want them all running. That's an option there. But we're just gonna go back now. Let's go back. So this is the back screen. From here, you have home. If you click this, it's going to take you to a home page. On this page, it is fully customizable. Right now, all I have is the Google search bar, which you can click on and then search whatever you want. So that is an option there. This does need to be connected to either a phone or to your wireless to actually work. Right now, if I typed in anything, it wouldn't actually work. So that is one thing. On the home screen, you have the option to add apps here if you wanted to. You also have the option to scroll up to get into the Android background, and this is where all the apps are for the Android. This is basically your working zone for the system. You don't usually need to go there. That's just something to know in case you want to play around with it. So guys, I wanted to jump in here because a few hours after I filmed this part of the video, I actually discovered something that was actually very important, and it has to do with the home screen. So when you click the home screen right now, it takes you to this page that I just showed you guys. On this page, you actually have two different home screens to choose from. This is the first one, and then to get to the second one, what you're gonna do is slide up here. Then from here, you're gonna hit the Nova settings, or the Nova settings down here. It's the same thing, and this is just your recently used apps. You click that. Then you're gonna scroll down and go to select default launcher. You can see right now it says Nova Launcher. Nova Launcher is the current home screen that we're using, which is all blank with the Google. If you click this, you'll actually see a different option, which is Index. So we're gonna click that. And then you can see the home screen has changed to a more modern appearance. This is the first page that is available, which has your music that you're playing and options to choose it, time and date. And then if you swipe right, you get a bunch of apps. I really like this home screen, and in my opinion, this is how the system should have came set up. It should have never came with the Nova Launcher setup. It should have just been the Index, because when you're buying a screen like this, you want the more modern look and appearance. So yeah, this is pretty much the Nova screen. I really like it. I think it's a lot more modern. One thing you want to do to make sure that this is always playing is when you hit the home button, it's going to pop up with this, and you want to choose always if you want it to always go to the Index. So we're going to click that. And now, no matter what screen I'm on, whenever I hit the home button, it's gonna take me to the Index page every time. So guys, now that you guys know this part of the details and how to set your system up in what I say is the correct way for the home screen, we're gonna go back to the video and resume where I left off. On the bottom here, we have another slider, and on this slider, we have a bunch of options. First, you have navigation. And of course, it's gonna open up Google Maps. But again, Google Maps is not gonna work without a signal. So it either needs to be connected to your phone or be connected to Wi-Fi for it to actually work. Next option we have is radio. If you click on the radio, you get this full radio page. From here, you can choose what stations you want. You can choose FM, AM. You can type in the exact channel. You also have the option to choose from presets. You can also tune it manually with the dial, and you can also make favorites. Bunch down here, you have a bunch of other options too. I'm not even gonna bother touching those. Those are stuff you can explore on your own. Then after music, we actually have climate. So if you click the climate controls, this is where all your climate controls are gonna pop up. This is pretty much like factory. You have the option to turn it on and off. That gets it on. From there, you can turn on AC, max AC. You can choose when you want the cabs to be cycling. Lots of other options. On each side, you have your temperature controls. You can also do it using the switches as well. If you have the sync button on, that will control both sides. If you have the sync button off, they will only control the driver's side. You can change this side by itself. You can change the settings on what you want. You can also change the fan on here, or you can do it on the side as well. You can put it back to auto. Yeah, everything's very stock-like. You will notice your heated seat option for your driver's side, steering wheel, and see, there is in some cases when you get your system plugged in that those won't show up. I will show you where you can turn those on so they will be visible. I'll show you guys that in the settings section. If we turn that off, I want to show you guys there's also another option. So if you want to get rid of the screen, it will go away by itself, or you can click this to minimize it. To see another climate control option, you actually can scroll this to the left, and it brings up this mini climate control. So if you like having your climate control always there, this is an option that you could have where you can simply control it from here as well. Lots of options in this system. So if we scroll back, minimize that. The next thing we have is Bluetooth, but I'll show you, I'm gonna skip over that to show you guys that at the end when we connect our phone. You also have, you can scroll it more. Oh, I don't wanna go too far, I wanna see video. So in video, this is where you can play videos. There's no videos in this, so I can't play anything at this point, but say you plugged in a hard drive into the USB 3, you could actually play your videos off of a hard drive. So that's an option here. Next, we have our phone link. This just takes us back to the Z-Link page. That's good to know if you ever need to get back to your Android Auto when you have that connected. You also have Chrome, which is pretty straightforward. This is Google Chrome. Nothing crazy there. You have the system setting or setting section, which I'm going to skip over because I'm going to come back to that. You have your SiriusXM. So if you have the module connected and you click that, it will open up SiriusXM. Still will do it, but it won't actually have a connection. I believe it won't. I don't think it does because I don't have the module plugged into it. App section. If you click on this, this gives you like apps through the system. There's some cool ones we're going to explore and show you. I'll come again. Another thing I'm going to come back to. I just want to get through this bar. Equalizer, audio equalizer, same as that button. You have your options to change from a bunch of different popular sound things. If your audio is sounding weird, that is because there's an issue with the way the vehicle is set up, and that's something you're going to need to change if you wanted to play with this. So you can either play with this and set up the audio section, and I will show you where that is, or you can just leave this and play with the vehicle settings. File manager, this is where you can see all the files that have been added to the hard drive inside this. This unit does have 64 gigs of hard drive, so you can easily add videos and stuff if you wanted to. And then you have cams, which is where you can see your cameras. In this case, it's gonna pop up the rear camera. If you had a front-facing camera, you could switch. If you had side, you could also switch to that. What's really cool about this system is it does have a few connections for some aftermarket cameras, but it also does have the multi-camera where you can add a bunch of different cameras. And I'm not even sure how many that is, but that is something awesome as well. Then in the system, you also have the ability to customize and add some apps. Basically, you can choose what you want to do there. We're not going to get into that. That's kind of up to what you guys want to do. So let's go back to what I said was I was going to look at was first the apps. Or no, let's go to the settings. So in this settings section, so if I went home and I hit settings, brings me to this page. On this page, you have the ability to customize your time. You also have the ability to customize your dimmer. So this is where I said you can customize how bright you want the day one to be and how bright you want the nighttime one to be. They will auto switch over based on the time. You can turn on beeps on and off. You can turn on antenna power. I don't think I need that on. Let's turn that off. Language, you can change the language. You can also go in here and change your units if you wanted to change that. Radio region, right RDS, which is, I don't know what that quite is. We'll just leave that now. Then in the audio section, you have some more audio controls here where you can actually change the volume levels of each thing. So if you want your music up or your volume down, you can change that. If you want your Bluetooth to be in the middle, I'm going to just put everything in the middle just because I don't want to blow my speakers out. But this is where you can change things to make it just simple. Aux music, nav music. So if you want the nav to be quieter, all of that's in there. You can also go to your equalizer and adjust all that. And then you can, of course, save and boot that. Then you also have your video points where you actually have the option to add in HDMI input. There is one on the back, so I believe you could add something. I'm not quite sure how that would work. User section, in here you have some options to change some classic themes and stuff like that. It's really up to whatever you want. You can customize source bar, default, nav, boot logo. This is where you can change the logo of the boot image. So instead of that Jeep, that yellow Jeep, you can change that here. Boot animation is also music, video, all that stuff is here as well for your system. Then in your system settings, you actually have system guides, networks, GPS, software version, basically all the stuff that you kind of need. If you ever wanted to reset to factory, you can do that here. One thing that's really important, and this relates to the climate control, is the heated seat zone. So if it's not showing up, if you actually click on here, then go to car AC mode, you want to make sure that you're set up correctly for your vehicle. So you want to make sure it's on Jeep and then on Wrangler. You're going to click that. And this is where you can customize whether you have manual AC or climate controls or auto. So if you have manual, that's where you would select that. And if you have the auto where it has the auto feature, you would select that. So we're going to leave it in auto. You're going to leave the boot logo, all that. I mean, if you wanted to, you could change that to, you could change that. It's really up to you. We want to make sure that that's on. Yeah, we don't want, Oh, so you can select here. So, I mean, you can select it here or you can select it here. I'm going to just select it there. So hit OK. Leave it there. After that, you're going to go back to here. And then if you hit seats and steering wheel, this is where you can turn on and off the heated seats. So if you don't have the heated seats and you don't want it showing, you can turn that off. If you want it on, like I do, you leave them on. And if you had cool seats, you could even add that. But most of us probably don't have that. So yeah, lots of other items in here. Dynamic guidelines, that's for the reverse line. So we're going to leave that on to show you guys the reverse piece. Yeah, so we're just going to leave that there. You can hit save and reboot, but it does automatically do it. Save and reboot, actually, you do need to do that for any changes. So you would hit save and reboot, and any changes you make will be configured. Let's go back. So that's to get the client, that's to get the heated seats. That's to get the heated seats information showing up. If it's not showing up, you have to go in there and turn them on and then hit save and reboot. Next thing we're going to go through is the app page. So in the app page, you actually have a few options here. So you have all this stuff where you can check out HD, you can go to Netflix. So if I wanted to click on open a Netflix, it would do that. Again, Netflix needs to be connected to a service, so it won't work. That is an option, but two things that a lot of people are going to ask for is in here. So first is the vehicle settings. So this is where all your vehicle settings are that control your dash displays. This is where you can change the language, you can change all the units, the temperature, all of that stuff. You can also change the driving assist stuff. This includes your parking sensors, your hill assist, your rear auto park if you had that, all the other items for safety stuff. Mirrors and wipers, you can have your headlights on with your wipers, dimming lights, doors, locks, if you want things to auto lock, exit, flash, horn, all of this stuff that's available in the stock system is right here. One thing that's really interesting, so compass, so we want compass, yeah, I don't know what this page is, I've just clicked on this. But one thing that's very important is the audio. So if your audio sounds weird, you want to go here because possibly your system is set up. If you want to use the equalizer in the system, they're recommended to turn that to 0 or all the way down, like all the way negative, and then go into the equalizer and play with that. You could also turn that all the way down and play with the equalizer. Or you can do what I've done here and set it up to a stock features. So I put my volume all the way up to 38 and I've set this up. Again, you need to make sure this is all the way down if you're using the features of the equalizer in the system, because if you don't, you're going to get like some speaker blowout. So you really want to make sure that you control both of those. So really play with those to get that all set up. I'll just show you that again. Hit auto, and in here you can change the volume, set up. For me, I don't use the equalizer this, I just have it set up and I'm good to go. I'm not super picky when it comes to the audio. Next thing people are going to look for is your off-road pages and your gauges. So this, if you click gauges, you can, or gadgets, sorry, gadgets. In here you can get your pitch and roll. This is where you can see your pitch and roll. So right now I'm seeing negative, which doesn't make sense because my vehicle is level. So, but weirdly enough, that was actually an issue I had with the AuCar one. So I have a feeling that maybe this issue has to do with my vehicle and not necessarily with the system. So possibly when you put your vehicle in, this will just be 0 and be perfect. What we're going to do is see if the roll actually works by playing with the AuCar system. So let's take some air on one side. See if we can get some. Yep, so the roll does work. We do get the angle adjustment there. So let's level that back out to have it go back. So that's really cool. Pitch and roll do work on this. Again, my pitch is messed up, but for some reason it doesn't work. Let's go back. If you want gauges, you can click on here and you can see your speed and your RPM. You're very limited. You don't have much more. It's sad that you don't have like oil temps and stuff like that. I wish they had that. Maybe that's just a downfall of the Gen 5 version. Auto start stop. Looks like you can disable auto start stop. I'm not sure if that's actually going to work, but maybe it does. Maybe it permanently disables it. Unfortunately, I can't test to see if this works because at this time, my aux battery is actually dead. It needs to replace. So my auto start stop is already disengaged. So yeah, that's something that cool is if that does do it, that's really a nice feature. Okay, so the next thing we want to show you guys is, of course, we're going to show you the Z-Link, which is the Android Auto. And to do that, we need to go to the Bluetooth and connect our phone. So what we're going to do here is on this page, you're going to be able to connect your phone. And this is also a place where you can dial a number and then call out. But this is also your Bluetooth area. So what we're going to do is open up our phone, go to our Bluetooth, and in here we're going to do pair new device, and we're going to look for the code or device name right here. This is my device name, but yours is going to be different, so don't use that number. And when that shows up, so hold on, let me have an issue with my phone. So right now, don't have it. So we're going to open that up and we're going to see it right there. So we're going to click on that and then we're going to put in the PIN code. Right now it's set at 00. You can press that setting button and change it to whatever code you want. I don't really care. So we're going to put it at 0, hit OK. Once that connects, your phone is going to start to activate the auto or Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Once that starts to go, it will kick you over to the Z-Link page, and it's going to take a few seconds, but it will boot up. You see connected, and then you have your Android Auto, in my case, or your Apple CarPlay. Very similar to all the Android Auto platforms, apps down below, options to go in here and see more apps that are in Android Auto. Very straightforward. Music, temperature, all of it is right there. All you need, shows the phone and all that. One thing to note is the Auto Connect. So I want to show you guys that the Auto Connect does take some time. So what I'm going to do is actually turn off the vehicle and have the screen turn off. One thing that's cool is that when you turn off the vehicle, it actually pops up the climate control so that if you want to play with that before you go. But I'm going to open the door to get the car to turn off. We're going to turn it on. So, as I mentioned, it does take some time, and this was one of the major complaints from people, but in my opinion, I think they're going to be okay as long as it auto connects. Yes, if I'm in a rush and I'm jumping in my vehicle and getting out there really quick, obviously for the first couple minutes, I'm not going to have music playing from my phone, but that's okay. I'm okay with that because eventually it is going to connect. So you could press that to speed that up. As the system boots right back up, it is going to reconnect to the phone and engage the Android Auto. So we just got to wait for the phone to reconnect with it, and it should pop up. Sometimes it just takes a few seconds, but again, it should pop up. So it looks like it's connected on my phone, so it should open up now on the screen. There we go. So as you can see, it does eventually get there. It just takes some time. So, but it's really nice to know that you can just jump in your vehicle and it'll auto connect, and then you can play music and have your navigation. So last thing I'm going to show you guys is the reverse camera. All you do is put it into reverse. The camera will switch, and then you have your lines. One thing about this system is I couldn't figure out how to calibrate it. Not sure where that is. I mean, I can calibrate colors and stuff. That's cool, but I can't calibrate the lines. The lines do work with the vehicle, so you can see they do kind of work. But I wish there was a way to calibrate it so I could level it out based on the angle of my camera. Can't seem to find that. Maybe one of you guys know where it is. It's probably somewhere in here. It's something I'll have to explore later. And then auto, you have your symbols here. If I turn off my auto park, it does show there. I have an issue right now with my system, so that's why it's popping up. It actually has to do with my rival bumper, but right now I'll just leave it off. So it does show you your proximity sensors on there. As you can see, guys, this system has a lot of features built into it. And to be honest, I have a feeling I've only really skimmed the surface because I've really only been using this for a day or two. But the stuff I have shown you is some of the stuff I did to configure the system to make it work for my Jeep. And it's some important features that you need to know once you've installed it, because I have a feeling that if you guys are like me, when you install it and then you start to use it and you see things missing, like for example, I didn't have the heated seats or the steering wheel on there, and I had to kind of figure out where to find that. those are important things. So I've tried to show you guys some of the key things you need to know about. My plan for the system is to actually keep it in my Jeep so that I can test it out further and get a good understanding of what it does well and what it struggles at. The reason I want to do that is because I want to make that comparison video, but I want to have the knowledge about the system before I make that video. For the AuCar system, I've had that system in my Jeep for about 2 years now, so I have a lot of experience with it, and I know exactly what it does well and what it struggles at. So I want to find out the information about this before I put that video together. Overall, guys, based on my first impressions of this and doing the installation, I'm pretty impressed by this unit. The installation of it was very straightforward. I wish they had better instructions because they use the excuse of saving the environment and you have to go watch a video online, and like, okay, I like that idea, but I also would rather just have a paper piece right in front of me that I can simply follow. But besides that, it was straightforward, plug the wires in. Again, hardest part was getting the wires into the back, but once we did that, it was not bad. The overall product, I'm pretty impressed with it. I like the look of it and how it fits into the dash. Again, what I said, I didn't like the way it looked with the red Rubicon dash, but when you have it on black dash like mine, it really ties in well and you don't notice the riser on the edge and how it sticks out. It kind of just looks like it's well integrated. So I like it better on a black dash. If it was on a red dash, I still don't think it will work. Again, the only thing I do have a complaint about is this space right here. Possibly what I will try and do is figure out how to make that fit better. Yeah, that's kind of disappointing, especially for the money you're paying. I do like the dials here, how they are different, unlike the AuCar one where it has 2 power ones. This actually has properly labeled one. I like the reset button. I like the screen. Everything's really nice. As I said with the screen, most likely I probably will add some type of screen, anti-glare screen film on it because it is a little bit glary. And if I'm running the top down in the summer, I want to be able to see the screen, but that's something I'm going to have to test out. As for the system, yeah, it's like every Android platform. There's so much to it. There's so much customization to it. And it's really one of those things you just have to play with to actually understand. What I really like about the Linkswell system is the fact that it does have the ability to add some accessories to it. In this system, I believe I could add a front-facing camera by simply just plugging in an aftermarket camera on the front. That actually might be something I try in the future. It's been something on my list, but I also do love the fact that Linkswell has like their multi-camera package, their DVR package, and their SiriusXM package. Those are all really cool and give you that extra edge from some of its competitors. Yeah, guys, I really don't have much more to say. I really just got to play with this a lot more to get more understanding of it before I create that second video. If you guys have any questions about this unit, feel free to post it below and I'll do the best to answer it. If you are interested in purchasing this unit, I will put a link below that you can click on to get yours today. If you are Linkswell and you're watching this video, send me the Gen 6 so that I can do the same video and show everybody what that is and show you guys how much different it is than the 5S. Yeah, as usual, guys, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Keep evolving, and we'll see you guys on the next video.